First of all, we have to understand that Spain remained neutral during the First War, avoiding the direct impact of this. But the war not only affected the countries that were in it, but also the ones especially in Europe. So this led to many instability, economic instability, to political changes and social unrest. First of all, the principal of all of this that made Spain have all these problems was Germany, but especially the Treaty of Versailles. That the Treaty of Versailles gave hard conditions on Germany, and this contributed to the economic and political instability in all the countries of Europe. Then we have Spanish politics and social unrest. And there were many problems happening outside of Spain, like we said, the Treaty of Versailles, but this wasn't the only thing that was happening. Spain had also its problems that were the fight that they were having for republicanism, for choosing republicanism or the monarchy. So the 1920s witnessed a series of coups, uprisings, and a lot of changes in the government. So all of this created a really big division in Spain, the two sides, republicanism and monarchy. All of these problems mentioned were the ones that led Francisco Franco rise to power, but especially the Spanish Civil War. That it began as a result of all the problems mentioned, and the conflict pitted the Republicans, and it was against the nationalists. That they were led by Franco, and their side composed of conservative, monarchist, and fascist factions, as he emerged as the leader of the nationalist forces, fighting against the Republicans.
Hello everyone. Today, let's talk about how some leaders keep a tight grip on power. It's not just about politics, it's about control. And they've got some pretty effective methods. First off, political representation. Imagine a place where speaking out can get you in serious trouble. That's the reality in regimes where leaders use fear and intimidation to shut down any opposition. They want everyone to follow the rules without question, and they make sure dissent comes with a hefty price tag. Now, onto surveillance. In our tech-driven world, governments use advanced tools to keep tabs on everything we do. Online, on the phone, even in person. There's no escaping their watchful eyes. It's not just about catching rule breakers. It's about making you feel like there's no hiding. So you better not even think about going against the grain. And let's not forget about squashing dissent. These leaders control what you see and hear. They decide what's true and what's not. Media speeches, history, it's all curated to fit their narrative. They want you to believe there's only one version of the truth, and any other ideas are just not allowed. Why do they do all of this? Well, it's not just about being in charge. It's about staying in charge, by keeping everyone in check, scared to speak up and unsure about what's really going on. They make sure the status quo stays put. But there's the thing, understanding these tactics is the first step to breaking free from them. By shining a light on these methods, we can work towards a world where speaking your mind isn't something to fear. Thanks for joining me on this journey into the world of control and dissent. Thank you.
Franco employed many different methods to establish and maintain control. For example, political repression, which meant that opposition parties were banned and individuals perceived as threats to the regime were arrested, imprisoned, or executed. Censorship, which meant that media, literature, and arts were controlled into supporting the regime. Surveillance, they kept monitoring citizens, ensuring compliance to the regime policies. They used police force to support the regime and arrest everyone that was against it. Nationalist propaganda, which meant that the regime used propaganda extensively to promote a nationalist and authoritarian ideology. Schools, media, and public events were utilized to propagate the regime's version of a story and ideology. And finally, the authoritarian legal system, which meant that the legal system was manipulated to serve the interests of the regime. Political trials were conducted, often lacking due process, leading to the persecution of perceived enemies to the state.
Relations of Nazi Germany with other countries before World War II. Incursion into the Rhineland, 1936, Hitler sent German troops into the Rhineland, defying previous agreements and showcasing the reluctance of France and the United Kingdom to confront him. Anti-Comintern Pact, 1936, Germany, Italy, and Japan formed a pact against communism, strengthening Hitler's alliance and demonstrating his aversion to the Soviet Union. Schluss with Austria, 1938. Hitler united Germany and Austria with little international opposition. Munich Agreement, 1938. Some countries yielded to Hitler's demands in Czechoslovakia to avoid a larger conflict, highlighting in the inefficacy of appeasing an aggressor. Nazi-Soviet Pact, 1939. Hitler and the Soviet Union agreed not to fight each other and to divide parts of Eastern Europe. Impact of alliances and geopolitical strategies. Avoiding powerful opponents. Hitler sought to avoid potential enemies and simplify Germany's objectives. Issues with the League of Nations. Hitler's action exposed the League of Nations' inability to halt aggression, undermining the effectiveness of international organizations. Appeasement policies. Some countries' policy of appeasement failed to deter Hitler and only emboldened him to be more aggressive. Invasion of Poland, 1939. Hitler invaded Poland, triggering World War II, leveraging an agreement with the Soviet Union to avoid significant resistance.
During Franco's regime in Spain, propaganda played a pivotal role in shaping public opinion and gathering support. The regime tightly controlled media outlets such as newspaper, radio, and television, ensuring that the information aligned with regime politics. Subversive content was either banned or heavily edited. Propaganda portrayed Franco as a savior, emphasizing his role in recreating Spain, films chaos and communism. Leveraging Spain's Catholic heritage, propaganda intertwined nationalist and religious themes, portraying Franco as chosen by God and endorsed by the Catholic Church. Youth organizations instilled loyalty to the regime and the younger generation, while Franco's propaganda was effective in maintaining his rule. Its impact varied across the population. Some genuinely believed it, while others complied out of fear of being put in jail or worse, killed. 5 months after Franco took power, World War II began. He initially declared Spain's neutrality, despite being ideologically sympathetic with the Axis powers. He later went on to have a meeting with Adolf Hitler, in which he proposed some demands to join the Axis, but these were too high for him and he rejected it. Later, Spain contributed volunteers and resources to the Axis cause. As the war turned against the Axis, Franco declared Spain's neutrality once again, but was faced with ostracism by the United Nations post-war. During the Cold War, Franco's anti-Semitic communist stance led to US assistance in exchange for military bases, alleviating economic strain in Spain.